Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Morning. My name is Julia. Well, actually, it's afternoon, so good afternoon. My name is Julia Talbot, and I am welcoming you to the Department of Family and Support Services Community-Based Operator Satellite Senior Center RFP for people interested in applying for that amazing opportunity. I will be joined today by two fantastic people on the Dfss staff. Ms. Jewel Wilson, who's the Regional Director for the Southwest Regional Senior Center, and with Yolanda Curry, our Deputy Commissioner Extraordinaire of all the senior centers in the city of Chicago. The webinar is going to begin shortly, but I want to do a little housekeeping first. Due to the volume of participants, everybody's on mute. And we're going to ask you that if you have questions, to submit your questions via the question box, and we will respond to the questions after going through the slides. Lately, we break it up and we go through this. We break for questions after the first part of the presentation where we talk about the actual program. And then we also break for questions again after I go through some of the administrative aspects of how to make an application in e-procurement. Please use the question box to notify us of any technical issues you might be having. I'm sorry that we're starting a little bit late. We're actually having some technical issues with Ms. Curry. So she'll be joining us a little bit later. So that's that. As you know, this webinar is being recorded. It will be posted probably a day or two after its conclusion today on the DFSS website, and a link to that webinar will be posted on the DFSS YouTube channel. Where it's going to be posted. Who knew we had a YouTube channel? But then we're going to also post a link on the DFSS website underneath the unique funding opportunity around this particular RFP. Right now we have, I think, at least 4 RFPs out, so it's not like there's, you have to go to the one that says Senior Satellite Center and go to the bottom of the page, and there will be the link. We will also be posting a PDF version of the slides that you will see today, including this one. And so that is how you can find this or pass this on to friends or family or other coworkers who might want to listen to a webinar like this. So just remember, that's where you're going to find this information. So I'm going to start with the agenda. Here's Yolanda. We're going to start with the agenda, and I'm going to pass this off to, I think, Jewel Wilson, who will start us off. Are you Yolanda? You get to do the first agenda?
It'll be me. I'll start us off.
Great. So here we go.
So representing DFSS, we have Margaret Lavriera, our Executive Director, Yolanda Curry, me, Deputy Commissioner of Senior Centers, Joel Wilson, who's the Regional Director of our Southwest Region, and then Julia Talbot, our Senior Policy Analyst. The purpose of this RFP is DFSS is seeking proposals from community-based operators to manage the day-to-day operation of our 15 satellite senior centers. The goal of the satellite senior centers is to support older adults with living independently in their own homes for as long as possible. Our DFSS senior centers help to provide a wide range of services that help older adults 55 years of age or older to remain fit, active, and healthy as they age in place within their communities. The awarded agency will operate our senior centers within the neighborhood communities that's listed in Attachment A of the RFP. Background. The City of Chicago Department of Family and Support Services is the primary social service provider for vulnerable residents of the city. Our mission is working with community partners. We connect Chicago residents and families to resources that build stability, support their well-being, and empower them to thrive. In terms of our key priorities, that is to deliver and support high-quality, innovative, and comprehensive services that empower our clients to thrive. We collaborate with community partners, sister agencies, and public officials on programs and policies It improves the lives of Chicagoans and advances systemic change. We inform the public of resources available to them through DFSS and our community partners, and we seek to be good steward of public resources and act responsibly and effectively. For more information, you're always welcome to check our website. DFSS is also the local area agency on aging for the city of Chicago. And in our division, we coordinate and fund services for older adults, prioritizing those with the greatest economic and social need, those who live alone, and then those who are at risk for institutional placement. Working in collaboration with other aging network partners, we guide our efforts by supporting older adults to live independently in their own homes and communities for as long as possible, ensuring those who reside in institutions are treated with dignity and care, and then guaranteeing that older persons have access to accurate information to participate in public policy. In terms of senior centers, through the Older American Act, senior centers are considered community focal points and have become one of the most widely used services among American older adults. Today, almost 10,000 senior centers serve more than 1 million older adults every day in the United States. As we talk about DFS senior satellite centers, currently they are age-friendly community hubs, recognizing the value of older adults and mobilizing their skills, talents, and interests. We also connect older adults to social, recreational, economic, and educational resources that enhance their quality of life. Moreover, our senior centers play a vital role in providing opportunities for older adults to access a range of activities and services in order to help improve their quality of their lives. Since 2009, the 15 satellite senior centers have been operated by community-based organizations. For this RFP, we're seeking respondents from nonprofit, for-profit, faith-based, and public agencies to continue with the provision of on-site management, oversight, and the coordination of our programs at our 15 locations across the city. The goal of this RFP is to increase service delivery satisfaction, to increase participant well-being, to increase the number of new participants coming to the centers, and to increase return visits by those visitors. The current state and priority for improvement. The wonderful thing about the DFSS senior satellite centers are we are uniquely positioned to serve as a gateway to the aging network and provide an integrated service delivery administration system through their geographic region in diverse communities throughout the city of Chicago. Pre-pandemic, in terms of utilization of our centers, we have more than 500,000 visits each year coming to both our regional and satellite centers and serving in upwards of 30,000 seniors from diverse backgrounds in different community areas in the cities. In terms of our priorities, we're currently challenged with positioning ourselves to effectively serve a growing population of older adults that are increasingly frail and diverse with different economic and social needs. And as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, our senior centers will also play a pivotal role in re-engaging with older adults, participating as they return to the center for services and in-person programs. We are looking for our satellite center operators to assist with outreach efforts to increase older adults' attendance and engagement within our centers. And our operators will need to work collaboratively with our personnel to devise strategies for older adults to access programs virtually, over the phone, and increase their comfortability with technology. In terms of our target population, DFS senior centers are open to older adults 55 years of age or better. And then we seek to serve the following subpopulations. And those are older adults with greatest economic or social need, with particular attention to low-income minority individuals, older adults that reside in medically underserved areas, those older adults who are at risk for institutional placement, and those older adults 55 years of age or older, to get them to become early adopters of satellite senior centers programs and services. DFSS senior centers must provide older adults with limited English proficiency, ensuring access to staff with specific language skills needed or translation services. The selected respondent will also make reasonable accommodations for older adults with disabilities and is expected to provide services that are culturally competent for the center participants. And so next we're going to have Jewel Wilson, and she is going to talk more specifically about the program requirements for the DFSS satellite senior centers.
Thank you, Ms. Curry, and good afternoon. The DFSS Satellite Senior Center's community-based operator will manage the day-to-day operations of DFSS's 15 satellite senior centers. DFSS will be responsible for the provision of 4 services, that is fitness, health promotion, voting diners, etc., through various contracting operating agreements with other delegate agencies. The selected respondent or respondents will be responsible for, as noted below, providing appropriate coordination of programming services, staffing, and personnel oversight, as well as maintaining the site so that it is in good operating order and appealing, welcoming to older adults. So under our fitness programming, it concentrates on introducing and reinforcing key components of a healthy lifestyle, including endurance, strength, balance, and flexibility through strength and flexibility training. And the responsibilities of the Satellite Senior Center site operator will be promotions. The Satellite Senior Center will publicize DFSS's quarterly Chicago Seniors Connected program schedule and will develop or distribute monthly schedules related to center-specific fitness activities. And just to give you a little backdrop on the CSC program schedule, CSC is our virtual programming initiative, and it was implemented as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the need for us to provide a means for our seniors to stay connected and prevent social isolation. Under B is service delivery. The Satellite Senior Center will assure designated space and equipment, that is computers, microphones, weights, balance balls, etc., being used for fitness activities and that they are available for use during scheduled class and training times. And then C, fitness reporting and compliance. The Satellite Senior Center will report the following: any malfunction of fitness equipment to their assigned fitness instructor, their regional director, and DFSS's deputy commissioner. The Satellite Senior Center will report no-shows and improper behavior of their assigned fitness instructor to DFSS so that there is appropriate follow-up with the delegate agency. The Satellite Senior Center must complete all incident injury reports and report them to DFSS. The Satellite Senior Center must assure that all fitness participants have met with their assigned fitness instructor and have been trained on the proper usage of the fitness equipment before use. The Satellite Senior Center will conduct quarterly client satisfaction surveys from participants and submit them to their regional director. Okay, our next section is DFSS Health Promotion Program. DFSS Health Promotion Program seeks to assist older adults with managing their health concerns. Health and wellness professionals are outposted at our satellite senior centers to implement evidence-based programming. These contracted professionals, that is, nurses, dietitians, social workers, and pharmacists, provide health screenings, one-on-one counseling sessions, support groups, presentations, and evidence-based workshops. DFSS will assure the regular, ongoing scheduling of these health professionals at the Satellite Senior Centers. So the respondent, that being the Satellite Senior Center site operator, will ensure that designated space and associated center equipment, that is microphones, projectors, etc., being used for health promotion activities are available for use during scheduled times. And in addition, the respondent will also retain a copy of sign-in sheets for health promotion activities for utilization purposes and notify their regional director and designated DFSS deputy commissioner of any attendance irregularities or instances. Next, we have our Golden Diners Senior Nutrition Program. Since adequate nutrition is a major concern for older adults, the Golden Diners program provides daily nutritious meals that conform to current dietary guidelines for older adults. The respondent will have day-to-day on-site management responsibility for the program in collaboration with their DFSS nutrition supervisor. The respondent will also ensure the presence of an on-site staff member with a food service sanitation license, providing effective on-site administration of the program. And then DFSS will provide a part-time hospitality worker and associated nutrition supplies for the program. And just a side note, the part-time hospitality worker reports to the DFSS nutrition supervisor. Moving along to linkage to information and community resources. To help meet the diverse needs of older Chicagoans and their caregivers, DFSS satellite senior centers offer information and linkages to community-based resources and DFSS programs and services, including, but not limited to, home-delivered meals, homemaker services, and other in-home services and supports, programs and services for caregivers, benefit programs, nursing home and ombudsman services, elder abuse services, senior employment, and volunteer opportunities. And feel free to visit our website for more information about the Care Coordination Unit referral process and more information about each one of these programs. Recreational programming. DFSS satellite senior centers provide a wide range of classes and activities that engage and inspire older adults in multiple ways, socially, intellectually, and artistically. Examples of recreational activities include, but are not limited to, English as a second language or ESL classes, technology classes, arts and crafts, discussion groups, music, dancing, special events, speaker series, theater groups, and book clubs. DFSS maintains a registry of approved instructors with pre-approved rates of reimbursement for services rendered, and the Senior Satellite Center will be afforded access to this approved instructor list for developing center programming. The Satellite Senior Center's schedule of recreational activities will include evidence-based programming, and while there are some required programmatic elements, that is computer and technology instruction, the respondent must develop a programming calendar that offers a variety of activities and culturally relevant programming responsive to the center's neighborhood population that addresses the needs of the community they serve. Feedback for the development of the programming calendar and final approval of programming should be obtained from the directors of the regional senior centers and or the deputy commissioner of senior services. Satellite centers are strongly encouraged to seek out the viewpoint and recommendations of the program participants and the center's advisory council. The Satellite Senior Center is encouraged to provide additional programming with prior approval from DFSS. Currently, each satellite center may submit a budget proposal to DFSS identifying up to $10,000 in yearly programming. The Satellite Senior Center will be responsible for developing a yearly budget breakdown that must be approved by DFSS. And the Satellite Senior Center will also be required to ensure that a monthly invoice is completed and submitted to DFSS by the 5th day of the following month for all approved paid program instructors for them to be reimbursed as a part of the center's annual programming budget. Each invoice submission should contain signed attendance sheets for each completed class or activity. Okay, moving on to computer lab and Wi-Fi. The respondent will be responsible for the on-site management of technology instruction at the Satellite Senior Center. Such instruction should be provided as part of the center's programming calendar, with DFSS approved instructors leading the classes. DFSS will provide computer equipment, software for staff, and to support the Satellite Senior Center's computer lab. DFSS will grant access to Wi-Fi and pay for technology instruction as part of the center's programming budget. IT issues must be immediately reported to DFSS's IT department, the regional director, and the deputy commissioner for senior centers. Village Interdependent Collaborative. The Village Interdependent Collaborative, or VIC, initiative turns our 21 senior centers into non-fee villages. The village concept for older adults is gaining momentum throughout the United States, and DFSS's VIC project is patterned after the village model that has been successful in affluent neighborhoods such as Beacon Hill in Boston and Lincoln Park, Hyde Park, and Streeterville in Chicago. However, it differs in that there is no fee requirement for Chicago older adults to join, as it creates an infrastructure of volunteers and community partners to create a safety net of community-based resources and supports to support independence and aging in place. The respondent will fully support the VIC project, including the seniors, the community volunteers, and partners during operation of the senior satellite, and the respondent will ensure there is dedicated space for the VIC team at the center, including a desk, computer, and telephone. Policies and procedures. The respondent agrees to follow all policies and procedures set forth by DFSS and agreed to by the parties. DFSS Satellite Senior Center policies and procedures govern items such as the participant code of conduct, incident reporting, space usage, emergency procedures, disruptive behavior, client eligibility, facility maintenance, repair requests, client contributions, client grievance procedures, etc. All incidents should be reported in a timely manner for all accidents and incidents that involve or affect client safety, disruptive behavior, service continuity, and program integrity. All incident reports must be completed and forwarded to the Deputy Commissioner for senior centers within 24 hours. This is a very important piece of the RFP that has been added in, particularly as it relates to what we've just experienced with COVID-19, and also how we respond to emergencies, whether it's COVID-19 or weather-related issues. So due to recent COVID-19 pandemic, special emphasis should be placed on developing contingency plans for any emergencies that may require a change in programming, location, dates, times, staffing, etc. This can include, but is not limited to, acts of terrorism, outbreaks of communicable diseases, winter storms, frigid temperatures, tornadoes, and heat waves. Sometimes it will be necessary to transition in-person services to other service delivery methods, which include virtual and/or telephonic when local officials deem operation of in-person programming not viable. During an emergency, adequate staffing for center operations is critical, ensuring that the staff and well-being of our participants are met, and in some instances, program deliverables remain consistent. The selected respondent should develop policies and procedures detailing designated emergency personnel coverage, training, personal protective equipment usage, health screens, temperature checks, and contact tracing for public health related emergencies. Policies and procedures must be in accordance with CDC, CDPH, and federal emergency management guidance. The respondent agrees to follow all policies and procedures set forth by DFSS and agreed to by the parties. Extreme weather. When temperatures rise or fall to unsafe levels, that being 100+ degrees Fahrenheit for 3 consecutive days, heat indices of 100 degrees or above for 2 consecutive days, and temperatures below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, the Chicago Office of Emergency Management, OEMC, will notify DFSS and other city agencies to activate emergency weather protocol. When emergency weather protocol is activated by DFSS, Commissioner for Senior Centers, this includes all senior center sites. In some instances of extreme weather, the senior center hours may be temporarily extended for 2 to 3 hours beyond the regular hours of operation. Additional response measures may include making well-being calls to seniors who are isolated and considered to be high risk and following up with the appropriate referrals as required. Location and hours of operation. The locations of satellite senior centers and their hours of operation are noted in attachment A of the RFP. Those locations are the only existing locations where our senior satellite centers will be operating from. City of Chicago holidays. The respondent must follow the City of Chicago's holiday schedule, ensuring service provision is consistent with the city's work calendar. On days that the city is closed, satellite senior centers may or will also be closed. Please see attachment B in the RFP for a detailed description of designated City of Chicago holidays. Please note that a satellite senior center may not close or cancel services without advance notice in writing and approval from the DFSS Commissioner. Okay, our center statistics. Statistics can be found under attachment C, specifically as it relates to participation levels at the satellite senior centers. And it provides a more detailed profile of each location. Data is provided regarding the number of clients served, frequency of visits, and service utilization. Under attachment D, it represents the languages spoken at each satellite senior center. The respondent must detail in its proposal how it will ensure, at minimum, the languages spoken within the neighborhood communities served by the satellite senior center will be supported by key personnel or other resources that assist with center operations. Under attachment E, the racial, ethnic composition of current participants is listed. For each satellite center, the respondent must detail in its proposal how it intends to provide culturally competent programming that is also equitable among the various populations of participants who attend the satellite senior centers. Services should be provided taking into consideration cultural preferences and diversity. Moving along to personnel. The respondent will hire and retain at each satellite senior center a full-time site manager who is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the center. The individual should have 3 to 5 years of previous experience in social services and or working with older adults 55 plus. The site manager is also required to always be on duty during the center's hours of operation. The assistant site manager is part-time, and the individual should have some experiences in social services and or working with older adults 55 plus. Volunteers or interns may not be utilized in this managerial position or provide coverage capacity of any kind under any circumstances. The respondent's organization must have on staff qualified individuals responsible for program oversight, management, fiscal oversight, and fundraising. Such staff should also have 3 to 5 years of previous experience in social services and or working with older adults 55 plus. The respondent shall notify DFSS of any changes in personnel, including the site manager and the executive director of the delegate agency within 5 business days. Center coverage. Additional personnel procedures include, these are also very important, ensuring adequate staffing coverage during an emergency. That is staffing shortages, addressing staffing shortages, inclement weather, etc., and implementing emergency preparedness procedures when necessary. Providing and maintaining an updated list of additional staff for emergency staffing coverage to the Deputy Commissioner of Senior Services. Having a comprehensive plan to cover staff absences, vacations, vacancies, etc., that must be submitted to DFSS for pre-approval and will remain on file with DFSS after approval. The plan should meet the following requirements. Notify the Deputy Commissioner for Senior Services, Senior Centers immediately by telephone and via email whenever there's a change in the center's work schedule due to sickness and or vacation, including short-term and long-term absences. The site manager and or program oversight staff must identify individuals that will provide coverage during a staff member's absence. Request for reimbursement for a site manager's daily rate of pay or no payment may be imposed by DFSS to the delegate agency if the delegate agency fails to provide a manager during the assigned site manager's absence. Okay, additional personnel procedures include notifying the Deputy Commissioner by telephone and via email of newly hired staff within 48 hours of employment at any of the senior center locations, senior satellite center locations. DFSS should also receive copies of all staff resumes. Notify the Deputy Commissioner for Senior Centers by telephone or email of any staff who are terminated, reassigned, vacationing, or otherwise unavailable to manage and or assist with operations. Field staff vacancies within 90 days and or a weekly report must be provided detailing efforts made to fill the position. No payment will be provided for positions that remain vacant. The respondent will hire and retain at each satellite senior center a full-time site manager who is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the center. This individual should have 3 to 5 years of previous experience in social services and are working with older adults 55 plus, and the site manager is also required to always be on duty. Background checks. The selected respondent will comply with all applicable federal, state, and local laws, ordinances, policies, procedures, regulations, rules, requirements, and executive orders related to background checks, fingerprinting, and screening procedures to ensure older adult participant safety. In connection with the services, the selected respondent will not permit any adult, whether a member of the respondent staff or otherwise, to be involved with the services or to have direct contact with older adult participants if any applicable legal requirements would prohibit such adult from having such involvement or contact. Background checks are an allowable cost if it is included in the agency's budget that was submitted to DFSS and an allowable expense by the grantee. The selected respondent will be responsible for providing opportunities to develop local leaders, volunteers to support the center and the community, as the mobilization of volunteers is central to the effective operation of a satellite senior center. Often participants are the greatest source of volunteer assistance for the seniors. For the centers, senior centers. Volunteers may assist with center services, including reception, Medicare health insurance counseling, SHIP, assisting with setting up and planning for classes and activities, supporting congregate meals, teaching classes, and other activities. The respondent will be responsible for the recruitment and retention of a cadre of volunteers to support the center's operations. Ongoing non-senior center participant volunteers will have to complete a criminal background check, including fingerprinting and sex offender checks before they start their volunteer service. And whenever possible, senior community service employment program, older adult trainees, which is supervised by DFSS, may be placed at satellite senior centers to provide additional support. However, SCSEP trainees are not guaranteed. The Center Advisory Council. The respondent will help form an elected Center Advisory Council comprised of a minimum of 5 registered program participants. The CAC's primary goal is to advocate on behalf of the satellite senior centers participants and communicate their concerns, discuss various center activities, and to provide overall advice on programming activities at the satellite senior centers. The CAC shall meet quarterly to provide input, and the respondent shall notify DFSS of any changes to the chair or president of the Center Advisory Council within 5 business days. Finally, the respondent is responsible for meeting with the CAC, DFSS, and community senior groups to address unmet needs of program participants and gaps in services. Communication and meetings. The respondent must maintain constant communication with the regional director to ensure proper oversight of facilities, equipment, and programming. The respondent must also meet monthly with regional directors and/or DFSS Senior Services Management to review and/or develop new program plans, ensure quality services are being provided, and resolve problems. DFSS reserves the right to meet on a more frequent basis if needed to assure effective service provision. The respondent must also attend DFSS's Provider Council meetings and other meetings as requested by DFSS. Under client registration, the respondent will ensure that each participant completes a DFSS program participation registration form to obtain a senior center ID card. This card will be needed to swipe in at each of the center locations at their kiosks and to track center utilization. Participants will also need to be re-enrolled annually by completing an updated program participation registration form in accordance with program standards. Under marketing and outreach, the respondent will maintain an effective marketing strategy to attract older adult participants, particularly new participants, and those with inconsistent attendance. Efforts should also be made to reach out to seniors of non-English languages in various cultures that may present a challenge to program awareness and participation. The marketing plan should be approved by DFSS, and staff and volunteers are expected to be a part of the marketing efforts for the Satellite Senior Center. Outreach presentations are to be given to target these specific audiences on a regular basis. Facilities. DFSS will be responsible for facility maintenance support as part of the lease agreement. Facility concerns will be handled by the City of Chicago for city-owned buildings, Chicago Park District for Chicago Park District-owned buildings, or private building management for satellite senior centers located in private lease spaces. All facility-related matters should immediately be communicated to the building owner, operator, regional director, and deputy commissioner for senior centers. Okay, our performance measures. DFSS will monitor a set of performance indicators to track progress towards achieving the outcome goals for this program and to assure success. Performance indicators include 85% of participants will be satisfied with the program service delivery. 85% of participants will increase their sense of well-being and reduce social isolation. 10% increase in the annual number of participants in greatest economic need and social need, that is low income, older adults, minority, and those that live alone. 15% increase in the annual number of new registered participants, and 50% of all new registered participants will return for a second visit during the calendar year. Our output metrics will include the number of daily meals served, the number of annual visits, the number of new registered clients, the number of participants who identify as low income, minority, or is living alone. I will now turn this back over to Ms. Curry.
Alrighty, so we're gonna just talk about like the basis of award. And so each proposal will be evaluated on the strength of the proposal and responsiveness to the selection criteria. DFS may consider other factors in our selection to ensure that our system's level needs are met. Examples include service experience in the community area, the use of older adults as volunteers and paid employees to this proposed initiative, the alignment of the service portfolio to meet the needs of older adults, language and cultural diversity, and then the ability to serve specific subpopulations. Awards will be made by each senior center location for a particular location and will be evaluated against each other. Each successful respondent must be ready to proceed with the proposed program on January 1st, 2023. Failure to submit a complete proposal with all the required documentation may result in your proposal being deemed unresponsive and then therefore subject to rejection. In terms of selection criteria and the strength of proposed program, this section is worth 35 points. And the things that we're going to be looking at is your agency's mission, and then the purpose of this, how this RFP aligns with your mission, purpose, goals, and other services. Looking at your description for the specific services and activities that you plan to propose, and if it fully address the core program requirements and any additional services. To look at how you describe the challenges and critical needs of issues facing the older adult population, the uses of evidence-based practices, your past service experience, how you will identify and recruit clients from the target population, and your details about both your internal and external outreach strategy. We're looking at your strategy in terms of keeping older adults engaged and retaining them in your programming and services, and then you need to provide specific examples. And then to provide an outreach and retention plan that demonstrates your understanding of the target population, any subpopulations, and how you address potential language barriers that will need to be addressed and accommodated. The program performance outcomes and quality. This section will be worth 25 points. And so we want to see how you describe how you will track and report on program outcomes, specific data that you have that can clearly demonstrate improved outcomes, describe how feedback and input is incorporated into the service model, and present a plan to evaluate program performance through client surveys, and then provide a detailed response that talks about your data management usage, including specific guidance outlining how data is collected, stored, and secured. Organizational capacity. This section will be worth 25 points as well. Here, we're going to look at your staff positions and qualifications for the program management and fiscal oversight, and then your plans for addressing any staff shortages. Your systems and process to support reporting and the monitoring of government contracts. And we want to look at how you reflect and engage with diverse populations and experience of the community. Looking at examples like your board and leadership composition and other activities, and describe how the agency works to become more inclusive in your internal operations and external work with partners in the community. And last, describe your organizational competencies, capabilities, and infrastructure to serve the intended target population. This section will be worth 15, and it's the leveraging of costs for budget, justification, and the leverage of funds. And so we'll be looking at your implementation cost, your reasonable implementation costs and funding requests relative to the financial and human resources. Looking at the proposed budget, if your proposed budget supports the scope of work or work plan, that everything is fiscally sound, and there's evidence of your financial history and record of the organization included audited financial statements from the current fiscal year, and the leverage of other non-city funds to support the total program and administrative costs. And then lastly, your fiscal capacity to carry out the work. In terms of a contract term and eligibility, this funding, of course, is subject to availability from funds from the City of Chicago corporate funds. This delegate agency award will be made for 3 years for an amount not to exceed $80,000 annually for the first year. That amount will be prorated depending on the start date. And then we reserve the option to extend this agreement for an additional year. In terms of who's eligible, this process is open for all entities, nonprofit, for-profit, faith-based, and public. You may apply as a single agency or in partnership with multiple agencies. One agency will have to serve as a lead, and the others can be subcontractors. But the subcontract agency must demonstrate competency to implement the programmatic elements, where the lead agency must also demonstrate financial strength and the ability to comply with all administrative requirements outlined in the requested proposal. Individual agencies or subcontractors must be able to demonstrate a minimum of a 10% in-kind match. In addition, administrative costs will be capped at 10% per application. And then respondents who are eligible and may apply to manage one or more satellite senior centers. Okay, and so the webinar is now August 2nd from 1 to 3 p.m. today. Your application is due August 25th by noon, and the program will start January 1st of 2023.
Remember, the applications are due August 25th, and you'll hear from me later about that 12 noon deadline is really, really firm. So at this point, we're going to open the floor for questions before we go forward with discussions about how to make the application in the e-procurement environment. So if you have any questions, this is a great time to ask them. If not, or if you're thinking about those questions, put them into the question box, type them out, and we will answer them also at the end of this little presentation I have about how to make an application in the e-procurement environment. So I'm going to just start with that since I'm not seeing any questions now or immediately, but we'll see. So I always say when you're working with e-procurement, start early, save often. That is my number one guidance. If you have not ever worked in e-procurement, you will need to get an iSupplier account for your organization. iSupplier is the vendor platform that is used to access the e-procurement system. The e-procurement system is the system that the city uses to do all of its RFP. It's for the cradle to grave contract. So it starts with your RFP, you make your applications in e-procurement, you do your vouchering and all of your sort of fiscal program and contractual program management in the e-procurement platform. It is not a system that ever goes down, but that doesn't mean it gets along with your computer or your computer network very well. So if you don't have an account in e-procurement or iSupplier, I encourage you to get one. That will take a few days. If you haven't touched your iSupplier account for a minute, I also suggest that you go in and just make sure that you can start an application. Get all of those things out of the way because time gets sucked up real fast in the RFP world. And generally speaking, I watch what people are doing with RFPs. People generally start their RFPs or start uploading their documentation into our system. I see, 3 or 4 days out. That's why we never will have an RFP due on a Monday, so that if you have questions. But I do think it's probably not a bad idea to just go in now, touch that system, make sure it's working for you, that you can upload stuff, that it's not going to give you a hard time, so that then you can really focus on making your application as good and as high quality as best, and you are not kicked out of this pool on a technicality. I see that we had some applications closed for RFPs last week, and I just watched people miss the deadline, that they did not take into account how much time it was going to take to resolve an issue, or that they would need somebody to call them back. I know that you as grant writers are very aware of timelines, and I also know that everybody that you're working with outside of the grant writing world probably will run the clock on you. But yeah, lie to them about the due date and get this thing in early. So in terms of looking at your application itself, or doing the application itself, the RFP narrative, the application questions, and the selection criteria and the evaluation tools are all interconnected. From your RFP narratives come our application questions, and from the application question and the narratives, we develop the selection criteria. And from the selection criteria and the application questions, we develop our evaluation instruments and our evaluation guidance. So if you're coming to sort of a path about, like, you're not sure which way to go, what to answer, what do we really want, the RFP narrative, I know it's a dense document, but the RFP narrative, those program requirements and descriptions are really the best place for you to get guidance on how to address a given question, what we are truly looking for, and how to craft, balance what your organization can do strongly, and what we need. That's where you want to craft your answers to hit what you're capable of, what you'll do well with, and also what the RFP narrative says. That's the trick. Again, carefully review that selection criteria. That is the criteria we are going to be using to evaluate your answer on. That's the guidance. Every question relates to a specific bullet in the selection criteria that Yolanda just went through a couple slides ago. It all relates. That is what we are looking for. Just a bit of housekeeping. There is a 4,000 character limit, and that includes punctuation and spaces. Each response, so when you go in to make an application, each response is allotted 4,000 characters. Not the whole, it will be for each question, not for the entire thing. And 4,000 characters is about a single space, 2/3 of a single space page. In terms of making your application with that 4,000 character limit, the E-Procurement System is not going to count 4,000 characters for you. It's simply going to cut you off, and it's going to cut you off when you make the application. It will not cut you. If you do a supplier view before you apply, it's not going to show you where your 4,000 characters end. It will only do that really when you press send or submit. And so at that point, I really tell people to do your answers in a word processing document, do the character counts that way, and make sure you're not over that 4,000 characters. The other thing is when you press submit, your application gets sort of sucked away. It gets given to us, and we can see it, but you won't be able to access it again. I'm going to show you in a few slides from now how you get to a supplier view where you can download a PDF of it. But it's really important for you to keep a hard copy, especially one that you can manipulate for further RFPs or further, applications in your files, because the e-procurement system is not set up to be helpful in that way. Every couple of years or every couple of, months, I get a phone call from somebody who's like, I was awarded, we don't really know what we applied for because we can't get up the application. And unfortunately, it often is months before we tell you you've been awarded your contract. And by that time, who knows what you wrote, right? In another sort of pro tip here is don't use the back button on your browser. The back button it doesn't work in e-procurement. E-procurement will keep working, but it will stop saving. And then when you go to save, it will give you an error message. And when you go back in, having cleared out that error message, you will find that nothing was saved since the time you hit the back button on your browser. I fall for this a lot, and it never ends with me feeling very happy. Some more tips, you can submit your application and later amend it up until the due date, so you can practice submitting and you can see how long it takes. You can see what kind of error messages you're going to get out of the system, and then you can revamp it. I always tell people to avoid the rush and possible mishaps by submitting early and plan on your submission taking 30 to 60 minutes. Late applications are not going to be accepted. We can't accept them unless we re-release the RFP and make everybody else apply. And then please make use of the e-procurement hotline for help at 312-744-4357 or 744-HELP. It's more convenient that way. But note that the hotline operates during business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. My number and email is also all over the RFP documents and all over the procurement stuff. Please, I often work different hours than 9 to 5. And if I'm always happy to have somebody call and I want to help you guys out. I want to make sure that you have the most pleasant, stress-free experience that you possibly can, which is why I say submit early. And so please, please, please give us a call. One other tip that I don't have as a bullet here, but if you are making multiple applications, you will need to set up individual accounts for each application that you make. You cannot submit multiple applications off of the same procurement account. So if you are making 3 applications, you need to go into your contacts, your e-procurement or your iSupplier account contacts, and set up 3 accounts, 1 for each of your applications. If you submit these applications off of 1 account, what you're going to be doing, it's going to treat the application as if you had submitted one and then you were revising it. So it will look to us like you have 3 archived things. It will not look to us like you have 3 distinct applications, and we really can't review the archived things. We're going to just review the active application. So there's also information about this in the RFP document about how to approach this, but please, please, please do not do that. You will also see when you go into your procurement account, if you have made these multiple applications, that there are 3 applications that you only see 1, even though you submitted 3, and then you'll be like, well, why? And if it is at 11:45 when this thing is on August 25th, I am not going to be in a position to help you, and you will not have time to rectify that. And I had 2 people have that problem last week, and now we do not have the pleasure of reviewing their applications or all of them, and they do not have the pleasure of potentially getting 3 contracts. They really are probably going to max out at 1. So if you're funded. So please, 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 if you're doing multiple applications, take that into account. Or if you can remember nothing else from this, just call me and ask me, and do it ahead of time so that we can get you straightened out and make sure that you are able to submit everything you want. In terms of more technical assistance, if you were interested in finding out more, more things, more RFPs you can apply for, you can go to the Dfss website. Under the alert section or the funding opportunities section is going to be links to the pages for all of our current funding opportunities. As I said earlier, at the bottom of the page for this, or for any of them, you're going to have the webinar link to the YouTube webinar link and a PDF copy of the PowerPoint slides if the webinar has already happened. Stuff that if the webinar still hasn't happened, I can't post any of that stuff. You're going to have if you have questions on registration or e-procurement stuff, call 312-744-HELP, or you can email customer service at cityofchicago.org. If you are a person who hates speaking to other people, you can look at a myriad of training videos, PowerPoint slides, screenshots that will teach you how to do sort of the most basic stuff. And this is the website or the website, the link to get to those. Or you can email me, and I have most of them. I can send them to you. I see here there's a couple of sort of e-procurement questions I'd like to address before we go on. So can you send the RFP in a Word document so we can formulate our answers and then cut and paste into iSupplier? No, I can't do that. The RFP document is in a PDF form, which is what we have to do when we're posting to iSupplier. And you can, by starting an application in iSupplier, you will have access to the questions that you can then cut and paste into your own Word document and then answer. So you should start an application, and I can show you that some of our next slides. And then you will be able to, get at the questions, and then you can cut and paste into iSupplier in the right place for the questions. The second question we have here is, can we include letters of support from our partners, and how do we upload those? Yes, you may include letters of support from partners, and there is a section specifically looking for uploads where that you will be able to upload, just the same way you will be able to download files from the e-procurement platform. You can upload your files, and we expect you to, for resumes or job descriptions, so all the myriad of things that we also require from everybody. So yes, we're expecting you to upload some, and it's pretty evident if you're having a specific problem. When you get to that point, give me a call, or we'll call the customer support hotline as well. And then we include links to online materials or articles in your responses to iSupplier? Yeah, I've never had that question before, but yes, I don't see why you could not include online links in your responses. I believe the iSupplier will accept those links. I don't see why they would. So I hope that answers the 3 questions in the chat, and thank you. Those are great questions. So moving on, I'm going to talk about 2 common things that we do in the iSupplier environment, or the e-procurement environment rather. One is how to accept an amendment, and the other is how to submit your application. So how to accept an amendment, we do amendments to provide additional information or make corrections to the RFP as it stands. So when we are done with this webinar, we will take the questions and we will turn that into our first amendment. The questions and the answers will be posted as an amendment. Everybody who is starting an application is going to have to accept the amendment as part of starting the application. And you will see in the subsequent slides that the City of Chicago, as well as the Dfss, is very, very concerned and wants to make it incredibly clear that you understand that you will be held responsible for the information held, explained, or contained in that amendment. So just to get started, in this screen, you can see the RFP that you're interested in has been amended, and in order to start an application, you will need to acknowledge and accept the amendment first. So to accept the amendment, you're going to hit this View Amendment History on the left-hand side here. If it was not an amendment, you would really go to this Actions bar on the right-hand side and go to the pull-down menu that says Create Quote, and then hit the Go button. But here we have an amendment and you need to accept it. So you're going to click on this View Amendment History, which will take you to this screen. This next screen is going to begin your acceptance and acknowledgement process. So if you want to look at the document, the amendment document, you're going to hit this number where I have circled 1, the document number, and that is going to show you the amendment itself, the amendment document. This middle bar is just a little one sentence about what exactly is contained in the amendment itself. And then if you want to review the additional changes, you can just hit this, to the RFP. You're going to hit this infinity or the little eyeglasses sign. When you're done perusing how the amendment has changed the RFP or the additional information, and you're ready to start the acknowledgement process, you're going to hit that button that says Acknowledge Amendments, either on the upper or lower right-hand side. And that is going to take you to this screen where you acknowledge. So to get through this screen, you're going to check this box, accepting the terms and conditions of the RFQ and acknowledging the changes made to the RFQ document or the RFP document, and then you're going to hit the Acknowledge button on the upper right-hand side here. You're going to see the trend of upper right-hand, so lower right-hand side clicking. That will then be acknowledged. Clicking on Acknowledge will then take you to this screen where you confirm that, and then you'll hit yes. If you hit no, that will just take you back to the other screen where you can then acknowledge again. That will then take you to this final terms and conditions where you hit on 1, I have read it and accepted the terms and conditions of the amended RFP or RFQ, and then you're going to hit the accept buttons, which are on the upper and lower right-hand side, and that is how you will accept the amendment. So that's a lot of screens, but as you can see, we're very concerned and we're very interested in making sure that you understand you will be held responsible for the information held in the amendment. We actually Also assume that you are going to be held responsible for the information in the application or the RFP document as well. So at this point, you've accepted your amendment, you do all of the wonderful things you're supposed to do, and now you're ready to submit. Hopefully you're doing this a day or two before the due date, just in case, or that you have gone through the e-procurement system and really made sure that it makes sense and is working for you. So you're going to save your draft one last time, and then you're going to hit continue. And when you hit continue, the e-procurement system is going to do a scan, kind of a quick and dirty scan of your entire application. And it's going to give you error messages where it thinks that maybe you didn't notice something or that you didn't do something or that it deems that you have potentially missed information. We're going to go through the two most common ones. So at this point, a very common message would be that RFQ control requires you to quote on all lines. We do this in the DFSS RFP or RFP application process. We ask that you upload either a cost proposal document or a budget document, and you will upload that as an attachment. The RFQ system is set up so that it thinks that you should be doing some of that budgeting activity in its environment. And that's what it's saying about quoting on all lines. You'll see here right below this error message, there's the tab that says lines, right? And to make this error message go away, you are going to click on the lines tab, and you're just going to put in placeholder numbers. You can put in your budget numbers if you want. You can put in whatever numbers you want, but we're not going to look at it. This is something that's going to come into play in the contracting phase. This is something that we look at in the RFP phase, but you're still going to get this message unless you put some kind of number in there. So that is the way that you're going to get rid of that particular error message. You're going to click on the lines tab, you're going to fill in your placeholder numbers, you're going to save, and you're going to be done. The other very popular error message that we get is this: a quote value is required for requirement first name, something that seems to barely be in English, but let's just parse it out here. Quote value is e-procurement speed or answer. You can see down here. A requirement is e-procurement speed for basically your application questions, and the specific application question it was referring to has been named first name. So, the translation would be: you forgot to put in the word first name. You forgot to answer the question first name. So you answer the question, you put in first name, and you're good to go. So once you'll just keep resolving these error messages, and once your application is free from errors, you're ready to proceed and submit. And at that point, when you hit continue, our e-procurement's going to do that scan, and it should put your application into this review and submit phase, which I have circled. At this point, you can see there's this printable view button, and the printable view button is where you can download the PDF copy of your RFP. So I suspect that so that is really the time. This is really the time to download that RFP and those answers so that you have a copy, the PDF copy of what you have submitted. And so at this point, it's also the last chance for you to review all your data. So you're just going to scroll. You're going to look at, you can look at all your answers under these quote value fields, and then you're going to scroll to the bottom of the screen. You'll see all your responses. You can see here your imaginary numbers that you put in for the lines. I think here's your attachments. You can kind of see that down there where you will have attached your attachments. And then you're going to provide an electronic signature, which you're going to be doing by pushing. You're going to click on the name. You're going to fill out your name first, and then your title, and then you're going to click the box even though it's above name and title. If you don't do it in that order, you'll get an error message that says do it in that order. I think this particular part really annoys me because it's not in the right, but whatever. I think we can all live with this. And then over, I couldn't fit it on the same screen, but over on the right-hand side, you'll see this submit button, and you click on submit, and whoosh, you will get a submittal confirmation screen. At this point, the e-procurement system will send a confirmation email to the email that is listed in the application within 24 hours of your submission. If you want immediate gratification or immediate confirmation, please don't hesitate to call or email me. I can see when you have made an application pretty much the second after you push that button. and it is absolutely my pleasure to verify that I have gotten the application. We have received your application. So please don't hesitate to call me. We hope you see that screen. Everything that goes from e-procurement ends up in my junk or spam. So make sure that you check your junk or spam files if you're expecting something from us. And and this is what I have. Concludes what I have to say about the e-procurement system. And now we're going to open it up for questions. Here's the contact information for myself and for Ms. Wilson. You can call us, email us, let us know what your questions are. We're happy to help you, and that's kind of what we're here for. In terms of questions I see down here, I see, is the specification number for the EDS the RFQ number? No. The specification, I think the spec number is in the application. I know where it is in my screen, but it is not the same as the RFQ number. The spec number, I believe, is a 6 or 7 digit number. Wanda, help me out here. The RFQ numbers are always 4 digits, and then if the amendment, it's a 4-digit number with a comma. So that 8891, Ms. Peters, is the RFQ number. That is not the specification number. I would have to go into a number of different screens to get at the spec number. It should be in the abstract page. That's where it would be posted in the application pages. That would be where you would find the spec number, and it would be called the specification or the spec number, and it would be at least 6 or 7 digits long. It's not going to be 4 digits long, I can tell you that much. Once I stop doing this webinar, I can actually look that up for you. But at this point, this is the time to ask other questions, if there are any other questions. And if not, I am going to encourage you to go and enjoy the rest of your day. I can't thank you all enough, both attendees and my wonderful coworkers here at Dfss for coming and showing interest in this opportunity. It is the delegate agency contractors such as yourselves that make this system work for Chicago's citizens. And your work is always appreciated. I don't know if Jewel or Yolanda, if you have any other things you'd like to add. No? Oh, here, do testimonials from participants count and can be included in uploads? Huh, that I'm going to ask our program people.
I would say that you would look at the particular questions that was asked and see how that would kind of fit into that structure if you wanted to do. I mean, there's no, let's say, kind of extra credit question, if you will, but I would say in other kind of questions, there may be natural places where you could add that.
Cool. Are there any additional questions or comments? This is like the Ferris Bueller part. Anything? Any questions, comments, anything you want to share? And if not, then we are going to conclude this webinar. I'm going to thank you all for your time. Remember, the webinar will be posted in a few days on the Dfss website. And go forth and enjoy your Tuesday. And remember to please, please, please submit your application early so that you have adequate time to get any kind of questions resolved and just have a more pleasant experience. I, for one, am tired of deadlines. The deadline is feels much more controllable when it's a soft deadline, not so thank you all and have a wonderful Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you and good luck.